Hi everybody, I am Zehra and today I'm going to talk about the fourth chapter of linguistic structure of modern English. Let's get started. And as we see, here is my content. Firstly, I'm going to talk about defining the word, and in the second step, we are going to talk about morphemes, and in the third step, process of word formation, and in the final step, I'm going to tell you about idioms. If we begin with defining the word, we all have intuitive feel for the words of the language and we think immediately of writing words. But even non-literature speaker can divide the speech chain into words. Thus, there must be some formal criteria for wordhood which all speakers use. This might be for various kinds. For example, orthographic, a word is what occurs between spaces in writing. Semantic, a word has a semantic coherence, it expresses a unified semantic concept. Morphological, a word has an internal cohesion and is indivisible by other units. And grammatical, words fall into particular classes. And synthetic means a word has external distribution or mobility, it is moved as a unit, not in parts. And when it comes to phonological, we can divide it into two parts as potential pause and stress. Potential pause means a word occurs between potential pauses in speaking, and stress, a word spoken in isolation, has one and only one primary stresses. But there are some problems of word delimitations. For example, words like try out, take out, pins, and needless considered as multiple words or phrases, and on the other hand, noteworthy supermarket considered as single word, jack of all trades, forget me not considered as hyphenated forms. In second step is morphemes. Morphemes examine the internal structure of word. Morpheme versus morph, the smallest meaningful unit in a language. The morpheme is not necessarily equivalent to a word, but may be a smaller unit. For example, the word headphones consists of three morphemes as head, phone, and s. When it comes to feature of morpheme, it is internally indivisible. It cannot be further subdivided or analyzed into smaller meaningful units. It has internal stability since nothing can be interposed in a morpheme. It is externally transportable. It has positional mobility of free distribution occurring in various contexts. When it comes to types of morphemes, we can divide it two parts morphemes as grammatical and lexical, and grammatical have two subparts as function word and inflectional affixes, and lexical is also have two parts as content word and derivational affixes. Let's have a look then. Lexical morphemes express lexical or dictionary meaning. They can be categorized into the major lexical categories: noun, verb, adjective, or adverb. These are frequently called content words. And lexical morphemes are generally independent words or parts of words. When it comes to grammatical morphemes, it expresses a limited number of very common meanings or express relations within the sentence. Their occurrence is predictable by the grammar of the sentence because certain grammatical meanings are associated with certain lexical categories. And a free morph might stand alone as a word, and a bound morph must always be attached to another morph. A free morph is always a root, that is, it carries the principal lexical or grammatical meaning. Example of root is upbringing. The roots of upbringing is bringing, unavoidable, the root of it avoid, and overground, the root of overground is ground. The roots are also occasionally bound morphs. Word, meet, sieve, or fear. This set of words identify the root, convert, revert, subvert, transmit, commit, remit, admit, omit, perceive, receive, deceive, and transfer. These all set identify the root. And words are analyzed morphologically with the same terminology used to describe different sentence types. A simple word has one free root, for example, hand. It's a simple word. A complex word has a free root and one or more bound morphs. Unhand, handy, handful. We categorize it as a complex word. A compound word has two free roots, like handbook, handrail, handgun, and a compound complex word has two free roots and associated bound morphs, such as handwriting and handicraft. When it comes to morphs, morph the concrete relation of a morpheme or the actual segment of a word as it is spoken or pronunciated. Morphs are represented by phonetic forms, and we can see a picture here, and we can understand the type of morphs more clearly with this picture. When it comes to allomorphs and morphomic rules, morphemes are predictable variants called allomorphs. Allomorphs are the members of the class of morpheme. Allomorphs are semantically similar and in complementary distribution. Allomorphs are predicted in one of three ways. The first is the appearance of particular allomorph is predictable from the phonetic environment, hence phonologically conditioned. The second is the appearance is unpredictable phonologically but is determined by the grammar of language as grammatically conditioned. The third is the allomorphs are used interchangeably in all environments, hence in free variation. When it comes to process of word formation, we can mention about derivation. It means the addition of word forming affixes is called derivation. A phonological change reduction, clear clarity, and orthographic change to the root pity, pitiful, deny, denial, happy, happiness. Semantic change, which may be fairly complex, husband, husbandry, event, eventual. A change in word classes, it, itable, impress, impression. When we come to derivational suffixes in English, we can tell about nominalizer, the set of words like meant, er, Asian, all and as, arrangement, worker, regalization, refusal, ignorance, and verbalizer is specify, centralize, enlighten, soften, tighten, and moisten. Adjectivalizer, flowery, poisonous, famous, delightful, sinful, supportive, generative, acceptable, livable, changeable, hopeful, thankful, useful. And adverbilizer, the set of words, quickly, sideways, terribly, gradually. When it comes to reduplication is a process similar to derivation in which the initial syllable or the entire word is doubled, exactly with a slight phonological change. Three different kinds of reduplication can be identified. The first is exact reduplication, such as papa, mama, goody, goody, so. These are all exact reduplication. The second is ablaut reduplication. It means the vowel alternates while the consonants are identical. Crisscross, zigzag, flip-flop, mishmash. And rhyme reduplication, in which the consonant change while the vowel remains the same. Fuddy duddy, razzle dazzle, boogie woogie, nitty gritty, and focus pocus. If we tell about feature of reduplication, reduplications can be formed with two meaningful parts. For example, flower, power, brain, brain, culture, vulture, boy, toy, or heart, smart. And reduplication has many different functions. It can express disparagement, intensification, diminution, onomatopoeia, or alternation among the other uses. And conversion or functional shift. A functional shift involves the conversion of one part of speech to another without addition of a suffix. It is sometimes said that a zero derivational suffixes is added. And the only concrete change that may occur in functional shift is a change in stress. The following kinds of functional shifts are most common in English: run, drive, man, head, shoulder, telephone, very, better, empty, evil, dirty, daily, double, private, commercial, down, up, off, and out. A compound is a combination of two or more free roots. It can sometimes be difficult to distinguish a compound which is considered a single word from a synthetic phrase consisting of a number of distinct words. For example, Stonewall compound, Stonewall is a phrase, and often the semantic of compound are not simply a sum of the meaning of the parts. For example, homeland means land which is one's home. Homemade means something which is made at home. Homebody means someone who stays at home, and homestead a place which is a home. Like compound phrasal verbs have semantic coherence evidenced by the fact that they are sometimes replaceable by single Latin verbs. For example, break out means erupt and escape. Count on means exclude. Think up means imagine. Put off means delay. And take up means adopt. And back formation. In back formation, speakers derive a morphological simple word from a form which they analyze on the basis of derivational and inflectional patterns existing in English as a morphological complex word. For example, the very common derivation pattern in English in which the agentive suffix er is added to a verb to produce a noun. Sing plus er means singer, and work is a verb. When we bring it worker is a noun. Verbs have been formed from the following nouns by the removal of an agentive suffixes, as in the babysitter, babysit, or typewriter, typewrite. And in the shortening part, the three types of shortening, acronyms, initialism, and clipped forms, have in common in the deletion of sound segment without respect to morphological boundaries. That is part of words, but not usually anti-morphemes are deleted. For example, advertisement, we can short it like ad or advert, and hack, we can short it as hackney, hack. Mic, microphone, trap, tarpaulin, rehab, rehabilitation, fax, facsimile, fan, fanatic, and meet, midden. The rarest form of word formation is root creation, the invention of an entirely new root morpheme. Brand names are the most likely example of the root creation, but when examined closely, they often prove to be based on existing words or names or to follow patterns of word formation such as shortening or blending. Our last part is idioms. An idiom is a sequence of words which function as a single unit. It is syntactically fixed and semantically conventionalized. Here is some example of idioms. If you look at the idioms characteristics, no or little variation is allowed in the words that constitute the phrase, so that you can say, for example, hold your stellation, hit the dirt, shoot the wind, or spill cherries. The semantics of the idiom are usually not predictable from the meaning of the individual words. That is what linguistics call non-compositionality. For example, you can calculate the meaning of being sick or feeling ill from the meanings of under and whether. The meaning of idioms is often throughout the metaphorical or proverbial. They are emotionally charged rather than neutral in meaning. Idioms are frequently quite colloquial. That was my presentation. Thank you for listening.